What if Naruto was a tailed beast part 10? Let's go. Now Naruto and his team are off for the mission of rescuing the Kazekage's nephew, as well as the one-tailed Jinchuriki, which are both the same person, aka Gaara of the Sand. Naruto was moving faster than the rest of his team, as Kakashi and Sasuke were trying to catch up, and then Sakura followed along. She was staying at the back as her greatest strength was definitely not speed. Meanwhile, the three, I'm gonna say boys of the team, are, well, pretty speedy. Especially Naruto, but Kakashi and Sasuke are pretty damn good too. I mean, Sasuke, with his Anbu duties, had to upgrade his speed, and Kakashi did too as a young age. Anyways, they arrived at the Sand Village very quickly, and they actually met up with Tamari on the way. She was very happy that Team 7 was coming as she knew of their power and could only dream of what they had become after 2 years more of training and experience, as they were already very strong before, or I guess during the tuning exams. And then they finally arrived at the Sand Village. They found out about Kankuro's injury, as venom had been spread through his entire body. However, Sakura was a medical genius and prodigy, so after only about 15 minutes she was able to heal him. Before that, however, Chio thought that Kakashi was actually the White Fang of the Leaf, which is why she tried to attack him, though Naruto blocked her attack easily and told her to relax. The fourth Kazekage was also there in the room, as he was worrying about his child Kankuro, who was his son after all. And of course he was also worrying greatly about Gaara, his other son, who had been kidnapped by the Akatsuki. Lady Chio ever so slightly touched the subject of the nine-tailed beasts, as they were likely the motive of this attack, because why else would they kidnap Gaara? Out of everybody, he was the only Jinchuriki in the entire stand after all, so if they truly wanted power or money or whatever, they would have gone for the Kazekage or something like that, not for Gaara. Sakura and Sasuke didn't know that much about the nine-tailed beasts. Of course they knew of their existence and a little more, but not that much, as it was basically a forbidden topic to talk about due to the tragedy of the Nine-Tailed attack on Konoha. So it was to never be spoken of ever, especially in the presence of Minato or his family. And well, Mitsumori, who is the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki after all. Then Team 7, along with Chio, went on their way to retrieve Gaara. Now, Tamari went along with them, and the Kazekage would've, but he stayed in the village in case another attack happened or anything, since at the moment they were the most vulnerable they had been in quite a while. So then, the 6 shinobi leave to retrieve Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki. On the way there, Chio talked a little more about the nine-tailed beasts, especially on the one-taileds who had caused trouble ever since he had been basically assigned by Hashirama to the Sand Village. He had, over the time of his multiple Jinchuriki, killed many citizens, destroyed many buildings, and just caused devastation wherever he went. However, for some miraculous reason, ever since the Chunin exams that Gaara took place in, the Jinchuriki, for once in their lifetime, seemed to be able to be a normal person. Sakura has a bunch of questions about the nine-tailed beasts as she's very intrigued by them, such chakra monstrosities. But for some reason, when listening to the story of the tailed beasts, she has an afterthought of Naruto's 11 tails that she had seen during the tuning exams and even a little bit afterwards. He never talked about it, though they always knew he was hiding something, but there's no way he could be a Jinchuriki, right? And if, then a Jinchuriki of what? Every tailed beast was known, there were only 9 of them. So what could he possibly have? She didn't want to think about it further, as it kind of weirded her out, but Sasuke started thinking similarly. Then they finally arrived at the gate, where a huge boulder with multiple seals on it seemed to block the entrance where the Akatsuki resided in. There, Naruto made quick work of the seal, as when Sakura was about to unseal it, as she had learned from Kushina Uzumaki herself, a seal master, Naruto with the sheer speed was able to tear off all the seals at the same time and unseal them with a quick, basic unsealing jutsu, and he did it so fast that none of them would explode or do anything that they were technically meant to do, so then the seals were gone. And after that, with a quick earth-style mud jutsu, the big boulder, the rock, seemed to get wet and then transform into a liquid, decreasing in size and hardness, and then becoming just a puddle of mud in front of Naruto's feet. However, their eyes were shocked as Team 7 was looking at Gaara, whose tailed beast was being sucked out of him by a weird statue with two people in Akatsuki robes looking and staring at the process of Gaara's soul being ripped away along with the tailed beast. Gaara had mustered enough strength to be able to turn his head and look at the bright light that seemed to come into the cave where the tailed beast was being transferred, and there he saw Naruto in the foreground. As Naruto, unlike how he usually would have tried to blitz his enemies, froze up. What he saw was devastating, unlike what he'd ever been able to imagine. It was a horror story. His friend was being killed, and his uncle sealed into yet another Jinchuriki, yet this one was different. It seemed to have even more menacing power than any single shinobi could muster. So badly that it even resembled some of Otsutsuki's chakra, which, by the way, Naruto does know how an Otsutsuki's chakra feels, due to the nine-tailed beasts kind of having a little part of an Otsutsuki in them. Them combined is basically what an Otsutsuki is like, so there you go. Also, Naruto kind of has Otsutsuki chakra, as he's a combination of all of the tailed beasts, basically. Anyway, Naruto's eyes were turning slit-like as his hair grew out and turned into a stronger purplish color, and a chakra cloak activated, gaining more and more form and boldness by the second. The two rogue shinobi in the Akatsuki clothes were now staring at Naruto as he was emitting so much ki, killer intent, and chakra that it could probably even knock out a normal person that wasn't trained in the shinobi arts. And his power kept rising. Slowly but surely, 11 of his tails appeared. The tails became more and more clear, so much so that after a few more seconds, it looked like they were physical objects, which they kind of were. Naruto now, as he should have done a little bit earlier, or as he would have done depending on your view, now rushed into the battle, and instead of hitting or kicking like a normal person, he mostly used his tails to fight, as they were incredibly coordinated, some hitting the ground, the other hitting the person, the ceiling, and they basically, if you're aware of gaming, they basically had aimbot, as the tails had even the ability to enlarge and get smaller depending on how far away the enemy was, so the enemy was basically never out of reach, which was a pretty OP buff if you ask me. So his tails could get longer, and he's just so incredibly fast that Naruto could not let his enemies get a fresh breath of air. Kakashi and Shio used this opportunity, as Naruto was currently taking on two of the Akatsuki, to go to Gaara and try to do something, and then Kakashi called over Sakura for her to at least maintain him until they can get him back to the village where they can actually properly treat him. And Shio was even thinking about already giving up her life to save Gaara's, but she was gonna hold on for a little bit. Now, Gaara was unconscious, but they knew that he was still alive, even if just barely. He still had quite a bit of the tailed beast, at around being 50% in the Ghetto statue and about 50% in Gaara. So it's not a death sentence, but it's definitely not looking too good, as it was forcefully ripped out of him. Anyways, now Sakura tries to heal Gaara as best as possible, as His heartbeat and breath calms down as it goes back to basically someone just sleeping tightly. Now Sasuke joins Naruto in the battlefield, but Naruto kind of has to pay attention not to hit his teammate, so it's a little bit of a drawback to Naruto's soloing technique, but him fighting with Sasuke together makes the fight much easier, as fighting two opponents at once is not Naruto's style. Naruto completely focuses on Sasori and his puppets, as he's fast enough to dodge any of their attacks and venom. Meanwhile, Sasuke is able to easily counter Deidara's attacks, as Deidara is mostly a long, maybe mid-range fighter, but Sasuke can get up close and use a Sharingan to obliterate anything that Deidara throws at him, even using the sword that he had mastered over the months. As yes, Sasuke still has a sword like in the original, just not with snake powers. Now Kakashi goes in to help his two former students, even though it kinda looks like they don't really need help. He goes to Sasuke for help, and then they both beat Deidara pretty quickly, and then Naruto gets finished with Sasori at about the same time, and his eyes go back to normal, and his tail slowly start to fade again, though they will take a little while to go back to normal. However, little did he know Sasori is actually not completely dead, as his core is still alive. Chiyo notices that and guides Naruto back, basically using him as a puppet, as he was not fully conscious of the scenery at the moment. He was totally caught up in his emotions and feelings and what had just happened, because he did just go rogue and absolutely lost control of his own power. Whilst he's not a Jinchuriki and the Tailed Beast won't take over, he still has basically a Tailed Beast, but he is the Tailed Beast. But the anger and hatred of the Tailed Beast can still get the best of him, and whenever he gets angry, his powers automatically get stronger too, so he basically is the Tailed Beast trying to take over his own body, if that makes sense in a way. Anyways, back to the fight. Naruto is being pulled off by Chiyo, as then Kakashi uses his Chidori to quickly completely shatter Sasori's core, and then actually end the fight. Now they have some time to interrogate Deidara, as they didn't eliminate him, to say. However, first they need to immediately get back to the village, but Naruto can take care of that, as without saying anything, he takes Gaara's hand, who's still sleeping tightly, as well as Sakura's, and then they just appear in the Sand Village Hospital, with Gaara already being placed on the bed, and Sakura standing in front of him, and Naruto on the opposite side of the bed. Naruto basically took them with him, as he's so fast that he is literally teleporting. So now Sakura delivers healing to him, as she tries his best, and Naruto actually infuses a little bit of his own chakra to Gaara, and focusing especially on Shukaku's chakra that he had absorbed and maintained over years, as once again, he absorbed some of his Shukaku's powers when he was born and very, very young, still living with the Tailed Beast. Of course, he got some of every Tailed Beast chakra, but he kind of gave some of Shukaku's chakra back to Gaara so he would make it and his healing powers would kick in, so he would be fine. Then he goes back to Team 7, or I guess the rest of it that's still there, as well as Chiyo. They make a quick circle because Naruto tells them to, and you do what Naruto tells you, and then they all get back to the hospital, as now there's not just Sakura, there's also the Kazekage and Kankuro standing there. Oh, by the way, I forgot, but Tamari was also brought back by Naruto. He didn't just leave her there. So, this mission was a very good success. Gaara was brought back, and he should be fine from now on. Kankuro was healed, basically perfect. He would just have to rest for a few days, but he'd be more than fine. Perhaps even being at peak condition. And two Akatsuki members were eliminated. One now being interrogated and imprisoned, the other completely eliminated off the face of the planet. Naruto was proud of himself, but still had to take time to reflect on his actions, as this is the first time he had gone rogue in such a long time that it felt weird to him. He completely lost track of his emotions and became a true monster, and actually became a tailed beast, but without emotions. He was a killing machine, even if it was just for mere moments. It was what it was. With that, I'm going to leave off the episode. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.